Are you an adventurer looking to take your hunt to the next level? Then you're in the right place. Welcome to East Meets West Hunt with your host, Beau Martonik.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the East Meets West Hunt podcast presented by Spartan Forge. On today, I am joined by Tony Trietch yet again this week, but we're talking all about his 2021 Western elk hunts that resulted in 2 giant bulls down in Nevada and Colorado. Tony is someone who spends as much, if not more time than anyone else I know out west and is consistent at getting it done on the biggest, oldest critters in the mountains. And this episode is brought to you by Spartan Forge. And the Spartan Forge app utilizes years of military background and machine learning to pull from millions of data points to accurately predict deer movement, including GPS data, 30 years of weather, academic, and state research. The new app includes GPS mapping with incredible aerial imagery, offline dependability, deer prediction, weather updates, journal entries, and much more. We just got finished with the veterans hunt that Spartan Forge put on here in northern Pennsylvania, and really incredible experience here, getting to spend time with these veterans and who sacrificed so much for our country and being able to give back. And the founder, Bill, is a veteran who just retired from the military here in July. So it's really important to him and his company to be able to give back. And it was such a great experience to have some podcasts that'll come out from that hunt here in the coming weeks. But if you want to check out the Spartan Forge app, you can save 20% by using the code eastmeetswest at spartanforge.ai. Again, make sure you sign up at the website, put the code in, and then download from the App Store. If you just go right to the App Store, you won't be able to get a discount. You won't be able to put the code in. So go online first, create that account, put in your code, download the app, use that login information, and you're good to go. Tethered is a company founded on the principles of educating the hunting community on saddle hunting while creating the most innovative, lightweight, safe products for saddle hunting. They have mobile gear hunting options for all types of hunters and continue to push the envelope. I'm currently using the One Sticks. I'm using the Predator platform and the Phantom saddle with 2 cis haulers, the 8mm ropes, got the whole gist and the whole setup. Super lightweight. My whole setup comes in like a little over 7 pounds, I believe. It's super lightweight and allows me to be mobile. So to learn more about tethered and saddle hunting, head over to tetherednation.com. Maven is building highest quality optics at half the price of their competitors through their direct-to-consumer business model. Their products are backed with a lifetime no-fault warranty and an incredible customer experience. The RS2 ultralight rifle scope was designed for the all-purpose hunter and features a 2 to 10 times zoom range to cover most of the eastern and western hunting situations. The RS2 is my recommended scope for those who require precision but don't need the added features of a long-range scope, thus making it perfect for small game, eastern whitetail, as well as western big game and ultralight mountain rifle setups. It only comes in at 12 ounces, so it's one of the lightest all-purpose scopes on the market. You can use the code eastmeetswest-gift for a free gift with any full-price optics order at mavenbuilt.com. All right, so I'm currently in West Virginia as this comes out, hunting with the Untamed from Josh and Kirk from the Untamed down there, hunting some mountain bucks and some really steep, rugged country. I'm really excited. I hope, I say this every time I release a podcast while I'm on a hunt. Hopefully by this time, maybe got a buck down. Maybe one of the guys got a buck down. Really hoping for it. I'm just excited to try something new here. Be down here for the whole week. So with that being said, there'll be some shipping delays on East Meets West apparel. So if you don't get a shipping notification right away, it's going to take me, until I get back to be able to ship everything. I do all of that myself, except for the items that say that they're drop shipped, which that is labeled under the product description on the website. So just please be patient with me there. I'll get your order shipped out as soon as I get back. And now we have a word from the GoWild founder, Brad Luttrell. And just remember, you can use the code EastMeetsWest to save 10% off of all hunting gear on the GoWild app.
When you post hunting photos on Instagram, they get censored. When you post on GoWild, you get virtual fist bumps from fellow hunters. When you buy gear on Amazon, you gas up a billionaire spaceship. When you buy gear on GoWild, we donate to a camp that teaches kids to hunt, fish, and shoot. See the difference? GoWild is a free social community built by hunters for hunters. Join today at downloadgowild.com and I'll give you $10 just for setting up your account. And you'll keep unlocking GoWild rewards as you share content because guess what? We like hunting pictures. Join at downloadgowild.com or in the App Store.
All right, we're live again. Tony Trietch. We just got done recording the whitetail segment of the interview that I had with him here, and I wanted to get that one done as whitetail season is in full swing kind of here. But this is the stories that I was super interested in hearing from some of your Western hunts and talking a little bit about your elk hunts previously, this year. So now this will be your third time, I guess, essentially talking on the show here. And we've talked about mule deer, we've talked about whitetails, and you like to hunt all different kind of animals.
Yeah, if I can get a tag, I'll go after him. I'm not too selective as far as species.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hold on a second. Selective is exactly what you are, but it not with the species specifically.
Yeah, I always joke around with my friend in Wyoming, a buddy of mine, that if I ever drop an antelope tag, he's going to have to come with me because I haven't the slightest clue. They all look big to me.
Yeah,
but one of these years.
It is funny because I have no idea how to judge antelope, and maybe if I got a tag, I probably have to learn a little bit. But like, someone will be like, "This is a Boone and Crockett antelope," and I'm like, "That I don't know. It doesn't look any different to me than any other one." Yeah. But obviously there's differences, but to me it's hard to tell.
Yeah, I definitely have some learning there to do.
You think you will ever hunt antelope?
Oh, I'm applying like crazy. I've been chasing a unit the last 3 years in Wyoming, and literally it's point creeping ahead 1 year ahead of me. Like every year I've applied for it. The previous year I had 100% success with the points I had, but every year I've applied, I haven't drawn it for 3 years in a row. So I'm trying.
Yeah, I've been putting in points for antelope in Wyoming and Montana. Currently, and I can get the Montana tag now. Wyoming, I don't even have a unit picked out or nothing. I just figured I better build some points and, be able to have that kind of in my back pocket, so to speak. But yeah, we'll see. My brother's been hunting antelope in the last 3 years. He's got one. He loves it. He said it's fun to hunt and everything, but I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, same here.
But so you did your annual Western, I don't even know what you call it, but it's a long stay out west that you had,
just a road trip.
Yeah, that you had just gotten back from there, a little road trip that kind of started out in Nevada, right?
Yep. The first swing, usually I don't break it up into two swings. Like, I think we covered in the other podcast is I got home with a little break in the middle of this one, but typically I'm gone from late July, early August, all the way into November. But this year because of tag scarcity and just not drawing the number of easy to get tags anymore, like you just could a couple years ago, I only had a couple tags. But one of them was a very special tag. One of those, I don't want to call it once in a lifetime because I want to hold out hope that I have it again, but definitely a great tag. And it was the number one, if you're familiar with Nevada's draw system, you get 5 choices. This was the number one choice I had. I mean, this was the target that I had the deer tag in that unit, the archery deer tag in that unit last year, found an elk, a big bull in an area that not really known. Like, it's not like when guys go there to hunt elk, they don't go to this spot. Most of them are going to be in other areas. It's not really an elky spot. It's more of a deer spot, but I found a lone bull in there that was just a monster. Very, very big and still not that old. So when I drew the tag or picked up the tag, the plan was to find him, and got there just a couple days early of the deer season starting, because I actually picked up matching deer tag on Nevada's new leftover first come first served list. Awesome new system. So I actually had the deer tag. So as soon as I got that, I hustled out there, but I think I got there a day or two before the deer started, and which put me about maybe even close to 2 weeks before the elk started. So I had plenty of time to scout. And in the meantime, hopefully kill a deer.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know when you were texting me when you were heading out there and stuff. I thought they all opened at the same time, and that makes sense on why you were sending me a bunch of deer pictures and stuff. And I was asking you first of all why you weren't going after some of those deer, but I didn't realize that there was a difference in the seasons there.
Well, no, I was going after that one buck that I was showing you. Like we put several stalks on him, and a buddy of mine had the same deer tag. Actually, two buddies, and they came out, and we were trying to kill that buck, but he had a magical 3-point, just a little 2-year-old like with him that he picked us off every single time. So he's as far as I know, he's still alive. But the elk tag didn't start for a couple weeks after that. So I had plenty of time to scout. I ended up spending a total of 28 days in that area looking for that bull and never turned him up. I talked to every deer hunter I could find, every hunter in that area I could talk to. I'd pick their brain and see if they've, try to see if they've found a monster bull in there. Because most people aren't hunting elk in there. It's like I said, it's deer hunters. And no one had seen him. And I found up. I sent you a video of that one bull I found. I mean, he's great. I mean, he's pushing 390. We figured. I mean, he was a giant. And I was going to kill him. I mean, I was totally happy with that. But opening morning, I was on him. He was, by say on him, I was glassing him, waiting for him to kind of bed. That time of the year, I'm hunting them like deer. They don't, mid-August, they don't give a crap about any cows. Matter of fact, they stay away from them. And it was probably, I don't know, half hour after like full blown daylight. And I'm getting video of all the different bucks down or bulls below me. And and there's roads everywhere in Nevada. It's hard to get away from roads. I mean, it's not like there's some big wilderness areas, but a lot of these lower areas, there's just no way to get away from it. Sure enough, here comes a truck right down the middle of the meadow, half hour after daylight and opening morning. And for sure, I thought this has to be some deer hunter that's just late. I mean, he's, no elk hunter would drive through this beautiful elky meadow half hour after daylight. But as it turned out, it was. I ended up meeting them, and they were really great people. They just didn't realize the meadow was full of elk. And in particular, like 18 bulls, like a big bachelor herd of bulls with 3 bulls over 360. And it was, and that one giant was in there. And he to this day, the guy, his wife had the tag, and they were super nice. And actually, I was trying to put them on, bulls and help them. And they were good people. They didn't know what they felt bad about blowing that up. But the end result was that bull, I never saw him again. And I was in there, how many more days? A lot more days. So 28 total. And I never turned him up again. And I covered a lot of miles on my feet, on my truck, on my quad. I mean, 25,000 step days every day in the mountains, in hours behind the glass every day, all day. Just eventually I've only got so many more days left of this tag. And I'm hunting in an area that has actually a pretty low population of elk, hoping that I'd either find the big bull that I'd found last year, which has been no show, or this one other one I can turn them back up. And I finally just decided I gotta change. And I was getting advice from a lot of different people that know the area. Like, you're a fool not to go up to that other area. Like, you have to go check it out. That's where the majority of the hunters are at, but it's also where the majority of the elk are at. And I went up there, pulled up camp as hard as it was, went to town, got cleaned up, got fuel and food. Everything's super remote out there. So if you don't, like, every chance you get, like, refill every fuel tank you got, it's real easy after like 5 or 6 days. You're like, oh shit, I got like, I need more water. I need more food. So I got everything filled up.
Do you carry extra fuel tanks with you? Like, as far as, okay.
I got extra diesel, extra gas, extra water. Oh yeah, everything.
Okay.
But I was going through, you're out there hunting in 100-degree weather, and it's, and I'm base camp hunting. I'm not backpacking. I mean, I'm traveling 10 miles a day with my backpack on, but I'm coming back to a central location. So I've got like a little portable shower there. So I'm burning probably 2 gallons of water a day. So it adds up after a while, even if you have, 4 or 5 gallon jugs. You can only go so long without running that out. And
Yeah.
and like I said, I was covering a wide area, so I might like jump on the quad and go like 6-7 miles around a whole mountain range to hike and glass that side of it, looking for that bull. I mean, I was burning through a lot of fuel, and a lot of water, and a lot of energy and emotions.
Yeah.
But eventually, I pulled the plug, and it's like, I'm just gonna go up to that other area and see what I can do. And starting over from scratch after having that much time invested in that area was tough, because I'm like, I know this area, and I feel like if nothing else, I could kill, one of those other good bulls. But I say good, it's all relative, right? When you're a once in a lifetime type hunt like that, like a 350, 360 bull is the good bull that you've been passing up opportunities on the stock just because you see these other ones. So I take all this with a grain of salt. I mean, I felt kind of spoiled just to even be there. But
yeah,
I went up that other area, tried to get permission on a couple of ranches up there that I knew were like the hub of where the elk are living. They're feeding out at night on these private parcels, and then going back up in the BLM and in the national forest at night. And did not get any luck, but I got a good tip where to glass from. If basically just asked the rancher, if you had this tag, where would you go to glass? And it's almost like he was like excited that somebody asked him that. He's like, well, you know what I do? I always see him up here in this spot. And he's like, it's not on my property, so go up there. Maybe it was, and then part of me is like, well, he's probably just throwing me for a loop just to get me out of here. But sure enough, there was elk up there, and which led me to more elk, and I'm glassing, and it's it's just I basically got up there probably at midday or maybe even later, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I really didn't even have a hunt. I was just basically treating it like a scouting session. So I just got up on the highest point I could and glassing these places where they were coming out to feed. And there was a giant group that I found coming out of the junipers, and it's just like buck cow or bull cow just coming out of there, and it's like, oh my god, it's just the fields are filling up with elk. And at the end of it was this bull that just didn't look real. I mean, his body size and his mass of his antlers and his main beams just looked fake. There was other mature bulls out there, and his body he looked like he was a third bigger than them. I just never. It made his rack kind of look small on his head when he was standing up, running around chasing everybody. But no other bull would come anywhere near him, and he was running around bugling him. You could tell he was king of the hill, and I was like, well, I need to get a better look at him. So that's probably 800-900 yards away. So the next morning, I figured out a way to get around behind him. It was all BLM, so it was all open. But there was people in there. I ran into 2 scouts. They call them scouts. What were they? They called themselves spotters. They weren't actually guides for an outfitter, but they were just spotters. 2 young guys. They were nice enough, and I got. You can't imagine. I've been in there 29 days now, and I'm pretty frustrated where I just came from. I just found something, and as I'm like going down this trail the night before to kind of like make sure I can get down this thing, here comes 2 guys out, and they thought I was their client coming in for the day. Like, oh, are you? And before I could even say no, I'm not. They're like, oh yeah, we got great bulls picked out. You wouldn't believe the bull we saw tonight. And I'm just like, oh really? What? I'm like, well, where's he at? What'd you see? And they kind of paused, and they're like, what's your name again? I'm like, well, I didn't tell you. And I said, my name's Tony. I have a tag in here. And then by that time, they told me what outfit they work for. And there's reputations out there, right? Like different outfitters are known for blocking roads. They're known for, spooking animals off from spots if maybe their customer isn't there yet. And whether it's true or not, I'm like, well, I'm heading this right off right now. And I told them, and they're young guys. I kind of feel bad now because I got right up in their face a little bit, and I was like, listen, I got a tag. I saw something tonight that I'm going to be in here tomorrow morning to kill. If there's something blocking this road, it's not going to look the same when you come back to it. If you guys try to spook them out of here, you're not going to look the same when I'm done with you. Like, and their faces instantly got white, and they're like, oh no, well, you're good. Our hunters won't be here for 2 days, 3 days. Hell, we'll help. And I'm like, no, you don't have to help. And at that point, I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm a little on edge. I've been out here by my, well, not mostly by myself for 30 days. And I'm like, you hear stories about how these things go, and they're like, no, we're not like that. He's like, we probably weren't even looking at the same bulls. There's a lot of different animals in here, by all means, and in hindsight, I felt like a jackass because one of those guys and I are now like, we chat on Instagram all the time. He's a good kid. I mean, he's a great guy. But there was that back of my mind. I'm like, fuck, these guys are watching my bull.
Yeah.
And this road's going to be blocked and they're going to be in that, out there spooking out. So they're before, because their customer isn't here yet. I'm like, son of a bitch. But come daylight, they weren't even there yet. And as a matter of fact, no one was. I drove my quad as far as I could down that trail. Didn't see a single parked car. Jumped off. Went basically got it. I guess the area they were eating runs north and south, but there was a southwest wind, so I couldn't get in the middle, kind of where I thought they were going to be. Otherwise, if they were at the north end of that, my wind's going to catch them. So I basically got at the far north end. It's probably 2 miles long, and I just had to wait. And once it got daylight, I saw there, of course, all the way down to the south end. So I had to hustle all the way down there. And in the process, unbeknownst to me, I did hustle past a guy and his father. They were in there. They had the tag. I only know this because later in the morning, I'm glassing around and I see a guy on a rocky knob, and he, like, as soon as I see him in the glass, he waves, and I'm like, shit. I must have ran 50 yards past him in the dark, because I ran right past that spot, just at first light. And sure enough, they were hunting that bull, and I kind of felt bad, but he did get his dad on another good bull that week, so that made it feel a little bit better. But anyways, I hustled down,
trampling over everybody in those couple days there, Tony. You're just
I went from a peaceful just scouting, and then I just come up to this new area, and I was the jerk.
Yeah. 30 days in anywhere, hunting like that. Yeah, it can make you a little bit on edge. I would be the same way.
I never would have ran past that guy and his dad if I'd known they were there. I never saw headlamps. I never saw anything.
Yeah.
And maybe for all I know, because it was just breaking daylight and I could see those elk were down there. Maybe they did creep out there after I ran by. I don't know. I never did ask the guy that. And he definitely wasn't mad. But I was playing it pretty aggressive. I wanted to get, as soon as I knew where the majority of the elk were coming off out of those fields they were feeding in, I wanted to get to where I could cut them off. And the majority of the herd actually made it to the PJs before I got to them. They were in there, and it was still good. I mean, they were all chasing each other around and bugling, and I still had plays. But as I'm glassing them up, I actually didn't even see them at first, but they were on the far. They actually started, I think, to go the opposite direction out of that field. They were headed east, and a vehicle drove on that far side. This is like a mile away, and I see this vehicle driving over there, and I glass it up, and all of a sudden there's elk running across the field towards me, and they're probably still, like I said, a mile away, but you could see the mass. I could tell it was him on the binoculars. I'm like, oh my God, that's him. And there was 4 or 5 cows in him, and I just had to get in their way. And so now I'm running back to the north, and then she takes a turn and she jumps over, and she's at the base of all these little coulees and draws, and she's she'll walk up one, and then she'll go over 2 humps and get to the next one. I'm half 3/4 miles up up those draws, running up and down these things, trying to stay in front of them. And eventually it got to the point where, she's 250 away, and I'm running out of PJs. At this point, if she goes on the north side, I'm screwed. Because like I said, the wind's on the southwest. If she comes on the south side, she's going to walk right by it, and I'm probably going to get a shot at this bull. And that's when things kind of got crazy. So she runs, or she kind of spooks a little bit, and he starts screaming. Well, at that point, he had been, I'm skipping forward. So she was 250 away, and she's coming. I've committed. I'm like, okay, here she comes. This is where it's going to happen. So as she walks by, he's another 100 to 200 yards behind her, just kind of lollygagging, and he wasn't really bugling anymore. And I ranged her. She's 60, or maybe it was 55, and I set my pin. My arrow's knocked. I'm hooking up to the loop, and just about that time, she spooks, runs another 5 yards out, and he's running, he's bugling. He's just I think he realized, hey, I'm a little too far behind. Come here, honey, whatever. And the whole idea of let me make sure, I've been hunting, I've been here for 30 days. Let me make sure this is the right bull I'm going to kill before I shoot him. Just went out the window. I'm just kill him.
Yeah.
And So I muted him to a stop, but he, like I said, she had went about another 5 yards, and I just didn't program that. In my head, I'm thinking, just kill him. And so I had my 55 on him, and I think he was probably closer to 60. Shot, and for sure, I thought he's dead. Like, it's tucked right behind the leg. He was broadside. I can see blood dripping. He takes like 3 bounds, stops, turns, he's facing directly away, looks right back at me like, what the hell was that? And I can already see like a basketball sized pile underneath. It's dripping out really fast. And I'm like, I got low heart. He's dead. I'm going to watch him tip over right here. And like 2 or 3 seconds go by. I'm like, I'm shooting him again. Like, if he's going to stand there, I arranged him. You already had the binoculars on. So I used the range finding binoculars. So I hit that 75 yards, dial the sight real slow. Already had another arrow knocked. Do the slow draw. He's still just looking over his butt right at me, facing straight away. So you know what I'm going to do here. It's a Texas heart shot, but I already got one tucked right behind the shoulder. I'm like, the more the merrier. Let's get him dead on the ground. The faster the better. And I just 10-ringed it. Like, the arrow just disappeared. He runs 60 yards and just like kind of stops, like, oh, can't do that. Running's bad. Beds down. And I'm thinking, I'm going to watch him die right here. He's going to die. That first shot's now going to, second shot, he doesn't want to move because of it, but that first shot's dead. And then he's laying there, and then he's laying there. And I'm just like, what is going on here? An hour goes by, and he has not died. So upon further investigation later, at the end of the story, I shot right underneath his heart. And I can show you pictures. It was 7-8 inches from the bottom of his brisket to where I hit. And I was above him a little bit because I was on top of a little coulee ridge, a little draw. So it was angling down a little bit, but it was not hard. It was not lethal. If I hadn't made that second shot, I bet you he'd have been chasing cows that afternoon, because it was just a flesh wound through the low brisket below his heart. It definitely didn't kill his heart. Like, an hour later, he's alive. And at that point, I'm like, well, I've got to get in tight and put another one in him. And I just, I quartered the wind. I basically backed off that coulee, went all the way around, trying to get the wind right, snuck in and got a third arrow and killed him. But I feel kind of, I've always been I'm just going to keep shooting until they're dead guy. Yeah. Like arrows are cheap, and they aren't cheap, but they are in the grand scheme of what we pay for these hunts and the time off from work. And I'm traveling to Nevada from Michigan. It's 35 hours to get there. Like, this is, in the grand scheme of things, even if it's got an iron wheel at the front, and even if it's a $50 arrow, it's cheap insurance. So that second shot was the one that anchored him, and the third shot, of course, done. But first shot wouldn't have, I don't think it was fatal. But and that's when in the whole time when he was laying there, there was a little bit of regret, actually. And I'm thinking, damn it, I didn't put a whole lot of time into when he was coming up. That cow was right in front of me, and then all of a sudden he bugled. He ran up there, and I just shot him. Like, I just went into kill mode, and it wasn't like I've literally been just glassing with my spotting scope bulls for 30 days straight, like scrutinizing like 365s, going, oh well, his top end is real good, and then here I just shoot this thing without I'm like, son of a bitch. I'm not even sure it's the same bull at that point, because when he was by himself, he did not look good. I swear, I haven't shared any pictures of him alive on the hoof for a reason. He looks goofy. Like, his body is so freaking big. Oh my god, he looks so stupid. He's a 385 bull, and he looks like a dink. When I killed him, and I'm 30 yards away walking up to him, I'm thinking, well, this has been an amazing hunt. I've worked my ass off. I've saw a bunch of ground, and I've passed up opportunities to stock a bunch of 360s. And I even had a 365, 370 broadside opening at 70 yards. Just stand there. I could have killed, but I was like, nope. And I just killed a 330 bull. And I thought for sure that's what it was, because with his beam sticking up in the air and he's laying there dead, it just, proportionally, if it's your standard mass measurement, it looks kind of unimpressive. And it wasn't until I was about 10 feet away and I realized that mass measurement I was looking at, or it wouldn't even be where you take the mass measurement, but that if you measure direct, like right at the base of his G4, it's almost 15 inches around right there. I can hide my whole hand behind it. And it was at that point that I realized, oh my God, like, he's got 20-inch fronts and 18-inch thirds, and his beams are, high 50s, and I've got like 70 inches of mass probably. The thing just And then I tried to pick him up, pick his head up. I'm like, well, that ain't happening. This was the biggest bodied animal I've ever shot, and I've killed a moose. I shot a mature moose in Idaho a few years ago. I was able to debone that moose on relatively flat ground, similar to where I shot this elk. Completely debone one side, tenderloins, back straps, both quarters, neck meat, rib meat, and then by myself flip him over to get the other side. I could not do that with this bull. I had to take off his head first, take off the cape, take off basically half the neck, and just to get. I mean, and then it was everything I could to get, like, I got a front quarter in one arm, and I feel like my arms are stretched out like all the way. Like I would have loved to have had a tape measure just to measure like how tall he was from the bottom of his brisket to the top of his back. I mean, his body in general is gigantic. The second bull that I killed this year, I've got pictures of those two together in Colorado after I cleaned up the Colorado bull, and he makes that bull look like a raghorn. His skull is 2.5 inches longer than my Colorado bulls, and I know that bull's mature. He's super old. I mean, I've hunted him for the last 2 years, but he's just a tank. So, it went from like crazy exhilaration to super excitement to like, oh shit, what have I done? Maybe I shouldn't have shot him, to, oh my God, I've got a once in a lifetime bull here. So it was like a roller coaster.
Yeah. That's insane. And then how far did you have to pack him out then to get back to your four-wheeler?
Not too far. Not too far. It was relatively flat, and it was probably 3/4 mile to where I could get the four-wheeler. Yeah, it wasn't that bad. But it was a whole nother trip than I normally have to take with a bull elk. I mean, it took me 4 trips, a solid 4 trips, and they were all heavy. He just had that much more meat on him, and I wasted a little meat. With that second shot, there was a little bit of damage to the inner sirloins there, and his body was. If that moose was 900 pounds that I killed a couple years ago, I mean, this guy was significantly more than that. I guess I'll just say that.
That's insane.
I don't know how big. I obviously don't have a scale, but I would guess. I'd guess probably I got 330 pounds, 340 pounds of meat with some that was wasted damage off that bull. And I've shot mature bulls before where I don't think I got 220 pounds of meat out of him. But yeah, he was. Well,
yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking of my young bull that I shot a couple years ago when I got 200 pounds of meat off of him. And so that's, 1.5 times, more than that. That's insane.
Yeah. No, he was a tank. But no, I was the hardest part about packing him out was just the heat while I was processing him and then flipping him over, because it was probably pushing 100 degrees. And I did have some trees that were within 100 yards. I hiked the meat to as soon as I get a bag full and get it in the shade and then start making trips. But I ran out of water partway through my 4 trips, my 3/4 mile each way trips to where I could get the quad to, and then I had to hike to the quad, which is that was probably 3 miles away. And the whole time I didn't have any water. So I was severely dehydrated, if not pushing borderline like danger. By the time I got the meat and myself back to the truck, where in base camp where I had water at, it was trouble. I mean, you're walking by like slimy cow like type creeks with cattle like standing in them, and you're like thinking, I might have to drink that. Like I might get sick as a dog, but I don't have a choice, right? It was real close to the point where I was ready to stick my face in one of those puddles and start drinking. But that first bottle of water and subsequent beers after that tasted as good as any ever have.
Yeah, I could imagine. You're like, hurry up and get this water in me so I don't dehydrate, and then I'm going to dehydrate again with some beer. But it's so. And
at that point, still, I still thought I killed at that point, I'm thinking like he's probably 350, 360. I figured that he was in that range just because I've never killed a bull that big, and his mass kind of blow just makes him look disproportionate. But
yeah,
then I got him back to the bed, and I sent some pictures out. I had reception at my base camp, and I sent it to some guys that are locals down there, and one of them's like, you better put a pin to him before you go guessing what you think he is, and a tape. And I did, and I texted him immediately after. Like, I didn't even add the fractions, and I'm like, nope, that's not right. I messed something up. And I texted him, I'm like, I screwed it up. I'm doing it again. Started over again. And I'm like, write down the same numbers. I'm like, son of a bitch, maybe I added it wrong. So I added it up again. No, I added it right. Like, I call him and I was like, I'm gonna do it again one more time, but this is what I got. And he's like, it's like, yeah, I've already shared your picture with Chad, our buddy that was with us. And I told him you were thinking like 360, and he's like, that bull's not an inch under 380. I mean, but he's been guiding down there his whole life. And
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know how the hell the bulls get the big old mature bulls down there get so big, because there's that, I think it's called Bergman's law. There's a medical or physical law that biologists have coined, that the higher in latitude an animal lives, like say Alberta deer, Saskatchewan deer, the bigger bodies they have.
Mm-hmm.
The further away from the equator, the bigger the bodies they have. Well, Nevada elk kind of blow that theory all to hell. I mean, like, it is like the mature bulls down there are giant. I don't know if it's some little type of subspecies or what, but just giants, and it's hot as hell. So that theory of
And the whole water thing, like, is it pretty
there's
dry?
a lot more
there?
water than you think.
Okay.
There's a lot more water than you think.
I think
You'll
of
run into
just straight
spots where-
desert, like, when I think of
no.
Nevada.
Well, there's spots like that for sure.
Yeah.
But there's nothing out there. But no, there's once you get into those mountain ranges, and my pictures make it look really, really flat. It's not as flat as it looks. Like, he died somewhere flat.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's still mountains. It's just it's not like the Colorado mountains where I got my next bull, but it's still mountains.
Yeah, because when you sent me your picture, I'm like, how the hell do you even stalk on elk there? Because it just looked so flat and open and everything. So it wasn't as bad as the picture made it look from that standpoint.
No, he died on a big a flat plateau.
Okay, that makes sense. And then, so what do you, when you go on these trips, like, what do you do with the meat and everything as you go to Colorado? Mm-hmm. How do you go about that?
So I take a trailer with a bunch of Yeti coolers, and then also I usually have at least one, if not two, and I've even taken 3 small, like 7 cubic feet. I think it's 7 cubic feet freezers. You can pick them up like at Lowe's or whatever for like a couple $100. And but I always make sure I have one of them. This year I only took one because I only had the handful of tags before I figured I'd probably be home. And even if at that point, in the past, I've been able to fit one mature buck and one mature bull in that 7 cubic foot freezer. This year, you would have had to like take the meat out of the bags if you were going to try to put a deer in that freezer with him, because he basically filled the whole thing. But yeah, so then but I had plenty of ice in the coolers to put him in it, until I got to town. And then basically by town, I mean, I drove right straight through to Colorado to my next hunt. And then I got a buddy there that's got a barn that lets me plug my freezer in and put a hard freeze on him before I drive home. And yeah.
Oh, that's...
I save all the meat till I get home, and then I do it all myself. I had a bad experience when I was younger with meat processors around my area, and I just don't trust them anymore. So I processed it all myself.
Oh man, you had a lot to process then.
It was slow too, because by putting that whole, I had those new Cafaro game bags, and I think I had 5 of them in there total, three of the big ones and then one smaller one, all stacked together. Well, they froze that way. So when I got home, I have basically a 330-pound block of frozen meat. So even if, I can't lift it out of there, it's frozen to the walls. So then you're trying to basically just pulling a little bit off top of each bag every day. Yeah, it's not a fast process.
Yeah, I wouldn't imagine so. All right, Tony. So after you went from Nevada, you were texting me. Well, after you sent me the picture, you sent me the pictures of the elk, and you sent me pictures of the mass and your palm on the side of the antlers there and everything. And you were heading to Colorado as I was leaving. So I think you literally got there like the day that I had left. What was it, like September 11th or so you got in there?
Well, that's a great question. I would have to look. I do not remember right now.
Yeah, you probably lose track of time when you're out there dates.
You know what? I lose track of everything. I always joke around with people that I don't know the names of any of the mountains or any of the drainages or any of the trailheads because I'm alone. I don't have to like tell people like, hey, I'm going to be over here. Where do you want to go? We go over there. I just go to places, and then I don't have. Yeah, half the time I do not know the names of any of this stuff. Of where I'm at. But I just looked. I think I got there the 10th.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was the day that we left. It was Friday, the 10th. So that makes sense.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about that, because you were chasing a specific bull the year before, right? Or did you see? Tell me the story.
There was two
I
of
can't
them.
remember.
Yeah. Last year there was actually two living in that area that were both. I mean, I would have shot either one of them. They're both. I figured they're both 330. Maybe 335. Then. So that was the first place I looked this year. Got up in there, and I mean, I haven't been glassing 5 minutes, and like, here comes a herd of elk, and they come up. They're cruising up above timberline, or coming up out of the timber, to feed above timberline, and he's rounding up the back, and right away I recognized the main beams. Like, he's got these big sweeping main beams that kind of like curl back down towards the ground. I'm like, son of a bitch, one of them made it, but also like right away he kind of like. All of his cows, which was like probably 45 that first night, and him kind of bunched up, and they're staring back towards the timber, which to me usually means there's somebody in the timber that was trying to put an ambush on them as they left, and now they're about ready to get spooked. But they didn't get spooked. I mean, right up all the way till dark. I watched, and I was a long way away. I was over a mile away. They just kind of fed up, up and just fed away. Well, the next morning I was in that area, and that first morning would be the only morning that I actually went in there after him in the dark. I met two dudes at the trailhead. They were, they knew they were the ones in that. They confirmed to me that, yeah, we were on that bull last night, and we thought for sure we were going to catch him as he came out to feed. And, they were pretty sure that they weren't going to see him for a while, because he's like, I think they'd been there for like 10 days. And they're like, last time they kind of got wind of us like this, we didn't see him for 5 days. But I went, and I told him, I said, well, we're all going the same direction right now. You tell me where you're going, and I'll go somewhere completely different. And he tells me, well, we're going to go up there above timberline to that rocky knob where he was going to. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh, no, you don't want to do that. That's where they're feeding. Like, it's dark. There's no trees. It's not like the elk can. I'm like, I didn't want to say it, but I'm like thinking, dude, the elk can see in the dark. Like, they can see a lot better than you can when it's dark. But I'm like, fine, I'll drop down the timber like 500 yards, and I'll be plan B. If those elk, make it past you, then maybe I'll get a shot. And it just as it was breaking day. I mean, it's just like elk are shooting past me left and right, shoot, going downhill. I'm like, oh no, they just totally blew this whole thing up. And I never heard any like barking or anything, but they were definitely hustling down to get in the timber, and they weren't walking. So at that point, I kind of just worked my way around to where I'd seen other elk in the past, and where I'd even seen that guy the year before. And that's when I noticed it was opening day of muzzleloader season, that Saturday, I believe. And sure enough, there's orange down below me. And about that time, like 100 yards away from that guy, I see a cow, and I'm like, holy shit, that guy's right on top of him. And then all of a sudden I can see a bull, and it's a mature 5x5 that I'd seen last year also, and I'd seen him the night before, and he actually kind of regressed a little bit. He was a little bit bigger the year before. I don't know, for whatever reason. He doesn't look like a super old bull body-wise, but he did get smaller. And to this day, I don't know if that guy was shooting at that bull or if he was shooting at the big bull, because I think he ran down. He was one of those bull elk that I heard running down past me. But either way, a muzzleloader shot went off, and it was pointed uphill. I mean, it sounded loud. And he's only a couple hundred yards away. So, I mean, I instantly like get into like interception mode, because those elk are now coming back up. But off to the side, this is all happening probably 800 yards to the east of where, the other elk had went down in the dirt past me when they got spooked up above. So now there's elk spooked up top. There's elk spooked down bottom. And I only heard the one shot. I don't know if that guy got an elk. I don't know what elk he shot, but the 5x5 came. I basically put myself in a little drainage around the corner that they walked right past me, and then eventually stopped and were feeding. And I think I even shared a video of him just kind of
that's you.
meandering around him.
You
So
put that video on Instagram, and I was like, geez, one day and Tony's already passing up on this for me, like, nice bull. And if anybody can't tell already, this isn't like the unit you were just in where this was a lifetime tag. Like, this is a highly pressured unit.
Oh yeah, no, I started hunting it over the counter like almost 10 years ago. And it's bad. It gets kind of hammered.
Yeah,
and he's a great bull. And I would have shot that 5x5 if I thought he was the biggest bull in the mountain, but I knew he wasn't. So and especially the first day. And don't get me wrong, there was narrow on my string, and my release was on the loop, and I'm just like, no, like grab the phone, just video it, don't do it. And then, and he walked away and came back a couple different times. Like, dude, you got to leave. Do not keep doing this to me. And eventually he did. And I was happy. I don't want, I've said before, but I don't ever want that feeling of regret of killing something that wasn't my, I want to be completely like I was in Nevada, just completely blown out of my mind, thrilled when I get a bull down. The last thing I want is that feeling of like, shit, I should have waited. I should have held out. That's not what I came here for. And that's a horrible feeling. And it's not cool to feel that way, but it's also not, it's kind of disrespectful to something you just killed too. So
yeah.
So it was good. He went about his way, and last I knew, he's still alive. I've got a buddy there hunting the rifle tag this week. He's been scouting, so I think that 5x5 is going to get shit hammered here this weekend. but so that was the last morning that I just went in there in the dark, kind of doing your typical elk hunting where you just, okay, I'm going in there. I know where they're kind of living. I'm going to listen for bugles. I'm going to try to get in their way, whatever. And I started treating him like deer, even though he had a crap ton of cows and it was definitely rut time. I didn't know where he was going to be at that next morning. So what I did was to go across to the very next mountain, where I have the best possible view, which is probably 2 miles away, and climb that thing, get up there as high as I can where I can glass, and just locate him first. So I'm giving up the morning hunt, basically. I'm starting off daybreak on a completely different mountain that he's not even living on. But that enabled me to find him every day, except for one, over the next 8 days. And every day I was able to be like, okay, I know roughly where he's at. He's in a couple of times. I knew exactly where he was because they'd go in a small little patch of timber that's 300 yards by 500 yards, and they wouldn't come out. It's like, well, so that's actually the first day, and they did get bumped by either the guys down low or the guys up high, whatever it was. They were 3.5 miles to the east the next morning when I found them, and got So then I got to go back down that mountain, across, go base of that mountain, get up that mountain. Got up there, and he was so aggressive towards all the little other, that the first night I'd seen him, and that morning, like there was no satellites. He wouldn't let any satellites get anywhere near him. If they got anywhere near his cows, he was just coming on with it. So my plan was to get in tight and try breaking or just do some light calling, just without calling. I wanted to do it without calling to break and try to just act like I'm a Miller bull on the edge of your cows. And it worked out perfect. I got up on the downwind side of his cows, got to the point where I couldn't go any further. Matter of fact, I got further than I should have, because at one point, I had a couple of cows in front of me that were like 60, 70 that I'd seen, and they were the reason I stopped. But once I stopped and I'm standing there for 5 minutes, I realized I'd walked past some that were like 25 yards away, and they just were looking the other way at the right time, and I got lucky. I didn't blow the whole thing up, but I commenced raking. I waited until it was like a low wind time, and I tried raking and just destroyed this tree. And he bugled, rounded up all those cows, and took off and left me standing there with nothing. I'm like, well, that didn't work. Now again, I have no idea where he's at. So the next morning, back up on my knob, relocate him again. He had moved again, and this just kept going on every day. Like, I'd try something new. I get in tight, try screaming at him. That didn't work either. I think that was the second morning. And I think I might have tried breaking one more time, but after that, I was just like, just don't make a sound. Just treat him like a deer, get in tight. And it took and I'm putting on a lot of miles up and down these mountains trying to do this. And in the process, I'm just getting my ass kicked. Like every time a spike's catching me, or a cow's like just catches me moving and kind of moves off, and she ends up taking the herd with them, or they just feed the opposite way. They're I got to play the wind, so I have to be careful of how I'm getting there, in front of them, and with that many eyeballs. And by the day I killed him, I think he probably had between 65 and 70 cows he had accumulated, because every time I knew a bull with a small little 4 or 5 group, of cows would come over, he'd steal the cows and run the bull off. And the last day, I found him way over on the side. And I want to say it was a weekend, because the muzzleloaders were out thick that day. And I think they had pushed him over to a spot I'd never seen him before. And I don't think it was normal. I think they were leaving. I think they were going down to cross the highway and get into the other side, because they were only a couple hundred yards above a road. I got over there. There was someone parked down there, a hunter, and I thought, well, this might be good. They might have came down here and saw a truck turn around. I hadn't hiked up 200 or 300 yards, and I could hear him bugling at another bull, and he had a very distinctive bugle, so I was able to stay on top from that way. It was very wimpy. If you heard his bugle and any other bugle you've ever heard in your life, and you had a choice of which one you're going to go after hunt, you're going to go hunt the other one, because he sounded like the wimpiest spike you've ever heard in your life. Just an absolute, just no finish on it, just a short little abbreviated, and that's all he ever did. So I knew it was him, and I actually got pretty tight. Saw one of those satellites trying to work it on the herd. I couldn't see the herd, but I could hear the big guy, and I just assumed that he's probably on my side of the herd. But then he just went cold, and that satellite kind of just drifted off the opposite way, and I was just kind of left there standing like, well, the wind's kind of wrong to kind of follow him after him. I don't really know where they're at. So I made this big loop to get way up above the, on the mountain up higher than them, because by that time in the morning, the wind was going up with the thermals, and got up there and just with the idea of just listening. And I sat up there for hours, and it was not late, early afternoon, probably between 1 and 3. I'm not sure exactly when. And I'm like, I got to go somewhere else. Like I can't hear him. He's got to be talking. With that many cows, like every time a satellite bull would come in there to the edge of his group, he'd be screaming at him all week long. I know he's still doing the same thing. That can't change. Maybe it could, but I just, in my mind, I'm thinking he's probably still doing it. I just can't hear him from here. So I moved, and it didn't take very long. I might have moved down 500 yards down the mountain and wrapped around a corner, and all of a sudden I picked out a cow, and then another cow, and then another cow, and I was like, okay, now I got 5 cows 70 yards to my left, and 5 cows 80 yards to my right, and there's a whole bunch of them. I can't even tell how many right in front of me, like 60, 80 yards. This is it. I'm on the edge of the herd again. The wind right now is perfect, but it's the thermals only. Like the directionals are coming across. As soon as the thermals start to go down, it's going to be bad. And out of the blue, here comes one of those little satellites. I got video of him too. I think I shared it. He walked right by me. Don't know how he didn't smell me. Doing the same thing I am, shadowing the herd. He gets 30 yards in front of me. He's just looking down at the cows. Like you can tell, he gets read his emotions. Like, oh, I want to go play. I want a couple cows. Yeah. And I'm just thinking this could be really good if he stays here, or if he starts bugling, or if God forbid he starts raking or something. And I basically have a professional caller, like a real caller, for me right in front of me. I'm behind him, but whatever. So I waited, and eventually the cows started getting up. It was probably pushing 4 o'clock or so, and they started getting up and just moseying around, feeding and working. They're all kind of working the same way out towards where they've been primarily feeding after they got bumped from above timberline. They never did go back above timberline after that one night. But at that point, the satellite jumps to his feet, and he's thinking, all right, I'm gonna, whatever he's thinking, but he kind of started working his way down to him. And I don't remember if he bugled. I don't think he bugled, but I think he might have raked some brush, and that other bull, the big one, came unglued, and he was probably 200 yards away. Like he was at the far side of that giant group of cows, but he stomped right up there. Like, no, you don't, you're not coming any further. And that little one he was out, like, peace out. I'm gone. I'll fight another day. And meanwhile, the cows are just paying zero attention to the bulls, and they're picking up the pace now, and they're moving along. That lead cow was already around the corner. She's like, it's time to eat, girls. Let's go. And just before you know it, like I can't see a cow and he's raking. And I've already been like as the cows were kind of like disappearing and moving around, I'm moving down, just trying to get as close as I can. As soon as that last cow was out of sight, he's still raking. He's like 100 yards away. I ran down, cut the distance in half. It was pretty thick. Like I want to say, I could make up a story and say I had this big window where I could just see his vitals. But I'm like, it's 50 yards. My rangefinder is telling me to cut it 42, and I'm like shooting through a softball. It's tiny, and I'm like, this might work.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? And I'm like, I got to do it. And that arrow just flew through there perfect and just drilled him. And he kind of hunched up like, oh crap, what was that? And there was a pause where I'm like, because I saw the arrow hit, and I'm like, oh, that's good. But he didn't move. And then just as fast as like I was thinking, get another arrow, he just whirls and runs full speed downhill. And it happened. I mean, he ran so fast, so hard, so quickly and then crashed. But I couldn't tell if it was a crash because when he ran and when he took off, 70 other elk around, all started running at the same time. So I can't tell if it's his death crash or what. All I know is he went from acting like he wasn't hit at all to like running full speed spooked. So I get down there, I find the arrow, it's got blood. I could tell, like, okay, I got full pass through. I think it might be a little high. I can't tell. I was aiming. I mean, I'm so far above him, I'm kind of aiming high because I wanted to exit low on the other side. But I'm like, well, that's kind of where I was aiming. So instantly the doubts are like, there's no blood where I was standing. There's no blood for the first 50 yards. Like I found like a couple specks, like not good. And I bet at yard 55, all of a sudden it was almost like someone just opened up the bucket, and like now it's like, oh, sweet baby Jesus, thank you. There's blood everywhere. I think he just ran so damn fast. Like it took him a second to fill up just that. I mean, it was only like, from the time that arrow hit to the time he covered that, paused for a second and a half, then ran that 50 yards. You're looking at 4 seconds. And it just wasn't coming out yet. But the last 50 yards or 40 yards were just like, it was pouring out like a hose. And and then there he was, just laying at a perfect spot to, process him, and didn't have to worry about, sliding down. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And it was easily my best Colorado bull. He's pretty damn good. So
yeah. What did he end up taping out at?
He's just shy of 350.
Yeah, Jesus, that's incredible. And the fact he followed him around like that is just, with that many cows and being like, I don't know. I remember when I'd see a bull with a ton of cows, not that many, but a lot of them. I was like, I just looked at him like, I have no idea what to do. Absolutely no idea.
I tried everything. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I just got lucky.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that, but you definitely figured it out. That's for sure. And
it's definitely a challenge. Like the difference of from hunting from, I got the chance to hunt what you call like a glory tag, and then like literally maybe what I would call one of the hardest elk hunts I've ever been on. And it's the biggest difference to me, like elk behavior is what they put up with. I never tried calling in Nevada, but everybody I was talking to is like, dude, what are you doing not calling? These elk are just like, this is the spot people want to come to call to because they respond.
Yeah, because they're not pressured as much.
But I didn't. And then when I get to Colorado, and I'm like thinking, don't you dare touch that cow call. Don't you dare don't make a sound. They're all going to pick up and run another 3 miles if you make one sound. And they do. And they just get so much pressure. They're different. They act differently in that way. In every other way, they're all the same.
Yeah.
They want shade during the day. They need food. They don't like people. They don't like roads. They don't like noise, and they need water.
Yeah, and it's funny because like on that hunt too, you were base camping it, hunting. You were hunting from the road essentially, like as far as every day hiking into the spots, and that's not an easy task by any means in those mountains. But like I remember you telling me that, and then also from what I'd learned when I was in Idaho, and I used to backpack into all my spots for elk hunts, and then I kind of stopped doing that a little bit. And in Colorado, this past trip, after I got sick, I wasn't allowed going above 8,000 feet, and I couldn't find anywhere in the unit that was below 8,000 feet. But anyways, I ended up finding one spot, and there hadn't been an elk there since 1965, I'm pretty sure. And I eventually kind of just worked my way up a little bit, and I found a spot I could hunt between 9 and 10,000, and I was feeling better. I only had 2 days to hunt at that point, and I used to call all the time because I thought that's what you're supposed to do, and I was like, I'm going to try a little bit of a different method with it, and so I stayed up at night and I listened for bugles from my camp where I was sitting there eating dinner at, and I ended up hearing like 3 or 4 bulls, going off across the other hillside, and there was hunters driving up and down this road. There's a road on the top with 4-wheelers and stuff all day, all this stuff, but nobody was running these side hills because it was super steep. It seemed like in those areas that had a bunch of road systems through them, people weren't going very far from them or in that spot. So the next morning I climbed up to essentially where I heard the bugles from, but I wasn't exactly sure, and I didn't know the area at all, so I was just going up in the dark, and I got up to a point where I didn't want to go any higher from the downhill thermals, so I kind of stayed at a decent point, and I knew there was from the map there was some meadows that were kind of up above me, some small ones, and so I just sat there and waited and listened, and then I heard a bugle go off, and I heard a couple others of what sounded like some satellite bulls with a bigger one, and then it was just a little after light at that point, and I just started kind of running up the mountain trying to get up to him because he was quite a bit ahead of me. The same scenario, I was a little more aggressive than I probably would have been if it wasn't like my last full day to hunt essentially, but I was at that point. But I got within 60 yards of him, and I went to I knocked my arrow and went to put my release on. I couldn't get my release to clip, and I didn't share this on the other podcast. I'm talking about the hunt because I forgot about it, but my release wouldn't go on. I had the knock to it thumb release, and I'm like, what is going on? So I always carry a backup, but it was in my backpack, so I take that off and I get out my other one. They're starting to work up, and I clip that on. What I ended up finding out was there was a piece of grass shoved inside my thing so it wouldn't allow it to click over, and at that point I almost threw it, but it was that wasn't the problem. But anyways, he was bugling to me, and I got in, and I thought he started making a bunch of noise. They're crashing in these trees, and I never seen him, but they were right there in this dark timber patch. But they just were going up to bed at that point, and then I went up, and it was night before they came out to this one spot in these aspens, they were heading out towards this. There was some big fields in the bottoms. I think they were feeding in at night across from where I was camping. And I basically whitetail hunted them and waited out at that spot because they were there the night before. They were there in the morning. Yep. They didn't know I was there, and they had no pressure, but it ended up not working out. I didn't see them or anything anymore, but it was, I second guessed whether I should have called or not, or if I should have just tried slipping the whole way in that scenario. Do you think?
I just have not had a good look at it. Maybe I'm a bad caller, but I just have not had good luck calling in those over the counter units or any unit, even if it takes 1 point or 2 points. Heck, even some of the better units that I've hunted in Montana. That take several years of points to draw consistently. Those elk are terrified of calls. I think I drew I haven't practiced enough of my calls, so I probably am not the right guy to. Yeah, because it's never been a focus of my method of hunting. So there's probably guys out there that could make it happen.
Yeah, but, and there definitely is, and I'm not. And the thing was, so I was mule deer hunting. That was my goal. I just had an elk tag because I could get one, and so I never practiced my call once. and my plan was not to call, but when I got in that moment of truth, next thing you know, I'm ripping that bugle tube out, and I thought, I thought I was Corey Jacobson up there. Like I was just, I got in that mode, and and I was like, shit, and I didn't call anymore then after that, but it was just cool that I at least got somewhat pretty close with the limited time that I had to be able to hunt there. But when I was driving back and then I'm texting you and you're just getting in there and you're giving me updates when I'm back at work, I was like, oh man, I just want to be back out there. And I'm still having trouble breathing and everything, so it wasn't like I was going to be very good anyways at it at my best, but I freaking love hunting out there.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful area too. If Colorado has one thing besides a lot of hippies and hikers, it's just beautiful landscapes. It is so gorgeous. Like I hunt a lot of areas that the hunting is probably better than it is where I hunt in Colorado, but Colorado is just gorgeous.
It is.
I understand why there's so many hikers. I mean, it makes sense. It's gorgeous, but
yeah, if I was not into hunting and I just wanted to hike for some reason, that would be the place I would go to.
Yep.
But cool, man. I'm pumped to hear those stories. Like I said, I was getting tidbits from you through text messages, but it was cool to hear the full story there and see how that worked out, and just seemed to get it done, Tony.
Yeah, it came together this year. There's years when it doesn't. Remember, I chased that bull last year, so I went home after 2 weeks of chasing him, and I think even longer than that, closer to 3. Him and that other bull, and I didn't have him. I had those same feelings when I was back at work that you had.
Yeah.
It's like, damn it, I want to get back there. What am I doing here? I didn't get it done. So it doesn't always work.
No, it definitely doesn't. But it's gives us faith that it can work. You just gotta be there, really.
Yep. Yeah, keep trying.
Well, cool, Tony. Thank you for coming on again and chat with me here tonight. I really enjoyed it. Would you want to tell everyone where they can follow along with a little bit of your stuff, and then where your hunts, as we talked about in the previous podcast, that you're going to have some whitetail hunts filmed here. So talk a little bit about both those.
Yeah. So, well, you can find me on Rockslide. I got lots of articles on there, and I'm usually writing an article or two for either Eastman's or Western Hunter. I try to split it up between both of them, the Western-centric magazines. Then on Instagram, it's just Tony_Trietch, Trietch. And that's the best spot to probably message me if you got any questions. But yeah, for my fall, it's I've got a Wyoming General deer tag that's not really one of the more widely hyped better units. It's kind of a off to the side unit that doesn't get a whole lot of pressure, but for good reason doesn't have a whole lot of great bucks. But I've got a buddy in there who has the bison tag, and his mom has a moose tag, so I'll have a deer tag in my pocket while I'm helping them. That'll be fun. And then my next 3 hunts, I'm trying something new. Yeah, like we talked about before, I'm going to be filming a few hunts, and one of them is going to be professionally done. I have no worries about that one with Mark Kenyon and the Meat Eater guys for a new TV show he's going to have next year. But the next 2 are kind of going out on a limb and going to try to film Eastern Colorado plains deer hunt during the rut with the decoys, and then the same thing in Kansas. So each of us has one tag, and Blake has Kansas and I have Colorado, and that's usually my happy time of the year. I'm usually in Kansas, but I guess I'll just the Colorado tag is going to be if I didn't have that and I had to just go down there and just help him kill a buck in my spot, and basically that's my favorite hunt of the year. And this year, I'm not drawing it. It's been eating me up, but he did graciously, give me the landowner tag that the rancher that he knows, it was his connection, that gave us. So when we were supposed to have 2, but so it all worked out.
Awesome.
But yeah, I expect to see good bucks on both those hunts, real good bucks.
Good. Well, I'm looking forward to following along, and I hope everyone else does too. Go check out Tony. So thank you again for coming on, man.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of East Meets West Hunt with your host, Beau Martonik. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit eastmeetswesthunt.com, Facebook at East Meets West Outdoors, and Instagram at East Meets West Hunt. If you enjoyed today's episode, please review and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.